So my last Get Ready With Me, I briefly said something about me literally bawling my eyes out in class, and y'all wanted a story time. So here's that story time on how I literally went to a guy in my class. I don't mean to be that annoying person that doesn't get straight to the point, but this story needs context. So basically, my history teacher, he's a very not political, but political man, and he likes to do debates in class, and I talk a lot. I love debates. I love arguing. I love it. That's my shit. So every time he does a debate, I go up in front of the class, stand at the podium, and I talk. But this specific debate was completely different than the rest. And it was about the Second Amendment, which, if you don't know what the Second Amendment is, it's the right to bear arms. And so we had to either be on can I say this word on TikTok? I'm going to use the word pew. Pro pew pew or against pew pew. And I went on the against side because I've had some very unfortunate things happen in my life revolving around pew pews. So the debate was going as normal. People were pulling up statistics. I was pulling up statistics. And then the teacher says something about, I just fucked up my eyebrows. He said if you bring up personal stories, then it makes your debate 10 times stronger. So this guy on my side brings up a personal story, which I'm not going to share on here because it's none of my business, but it was really sad, and everyone was supporting him and felt bad for him. Obviously, I did too because that's a very sad story. And then so I went up and I shared a personal story about one of my friends who got shot recently. He was 13. It was literally, I think about it every day, and I talk about that story a lot because I'm still not over it. But this specific time, I literally started tearing up, and at this point of me talking about it in front of the class, I wasn't full on crying. But what happened next is what literally made me want to basically, after the opposing side said something, someone from the opposite side would go up and say a counter thing. But the teacher specifically said, if someone shares a personal story, do not go up and say a counter thing, just change the topic, because you can't counter that. But of course, when I say something personal, this bitch wants to go up and counter something. The point I said before I shared my story was that I said that the number one cause of, can I say this? Self is by parents leaving pew-pews in the house. And that's a fact. It's statistically proven. It's literally a fact. And I know I look super pale right now, guys. Trust the process. But then after I share that story, this guy goes up. And he's like, well, it's not the guy who your friend's fault. It's the parents' fault for leaving the pew-pew in the house. And I was like, okay, whatever. And then I look over, and after I tell my story, 3 guys are dying fucking laughing at me. Oh my god. I literally look like a ghost. Which I understand what he was saying, it's the parents' fault, but it wasn't the parents' fault. It was the fact that so many people that are young, not even old enough to have access to a pew-pew, are getting them because they are legal, and because no matter where you are, especially if you're in a bad part of town like my friend was, people at any age are going to have a pew-pew and be able to do whatever they want with it. And so that he just completely fucking missed the point of my argument and just started fucking saying the dumbest stuff, and then people were laughing at me, which made me cry even more because I'm a fucking crybaby. I cry over everything, and it just made me so mad. And after that guy said something personal before I said something personal, the next person that went up after him completely changed the subject like you were supposed to do, and was just talking about how pew-pews bring a lot of money to America, whatever. But how come when I go up, you have to counteract what I said? You can't counteract literal personal experience. But that's the whole reason I started crying in the first place, because they were laughing at me and just being totally rude and insensitive to what I said. I literally said that a 13-year-old boy literally got, when he was 13, and it wasn't he was threatening them or anything. That wasn't the case. They literally just him over an argument. And so when I said that, why is your first instinct to blame my friend? Why is that your first fucking instinct? Do you have no fucking heart? Obviously you don't. And it's like, I get it. You see someone crying in front of the class, you're gonna giggle and stuff, but your reaction should never fucking be, I literally looked over and they were laughing at me and they're like, shut the fuck up. Like, who do you think you are? I will. Ugh. Okay, that's all I feel like sharing on the internet today. I don't know why I look so horrible right now, but I love y'all so much. Have an amazing day.
Get ready with me whilst I tell you some really funny but traumatic experiences I had when I was at school and being a social media girl. Starting off, I think this is one that a lot of people always get shocked about because they're like, no way people asked you this. But teachers used to always ask me like, oh, how much do you earn a year? And like all these really, really personal questions about like my money. And like I just always used to think I would never ask a teacher how much they earn, so why are they asking me? A lot of people always expected, like because I had a following on social media, that a lot of people wanted to be my friend. But I'd say it was the complete opposite. People was kind of like, I don't even know what it was, but people was just so weird with me and like just was rude all the time. Be like, oh, she's a TikTok girl, like she's so prestige. But none of them would even speak to me. Like I made some really good friends in younger years and my years, but everyone else just had such an opinion when they didn't know me, which is one thing I find with social media, and a lot of my friends had the same issues growing up on social media. It's really annoying. I think one of the most funny, memorable things is the rumours people used to make about me, which was so far from the truth. And it used to literally make me giggle so much because I'd be like, that's just not true. Like, basically, some girls was throwing balls at the back of my head in PE. And I felt really dizzy, so I went to the medical woman and they made me, like, tell them what happened. Because I was like, I don't really care, but I had to tell medical what happened. And then medical told pastoral, which is, like, the people that, like, try to sort out problems. And I remember I was like, oh, this is just going to get me so much more problems. And then the whole of year 8 and 9, I had a rumour going around that apparently my parents paid the school to get me out of trouble. And my dog's sneezing like mad. Are you okay? But no, like, there was seriously a rumour going around that my parents owned part of the school. My parents paid the teachers not to get me in trouble. But in reality, they was all the ones that was being naughty and not me. That's why I just never got in trouble, because I was just the blooming victim of it all. But yeah, that was a very good rumour that went around. Everyone literally told everyone that my mum paid the school to get me out of trouble. Another thing was I was called Snobson because my last name's not actually Charlize, it's Hobson. And my whole school life, I was called Amelie Snobson because apparently I was a snob. In year 7, I had a red bag. So in year 7, most of the people used to call me Red Bag Girl because no one knew my name. If I ever had hate from anyone from school, like being horrible to me, and the school found out about it, the school would tell me to quit social media because that's the reason that I get hate. But, like, there would be kids that done dancing in my school that would get hate because they was, like, good at dancing. But they never got told to quit what they was passionate in doing. It was just because I done something different. If you want a part 2, let me know. I've got so much more.
When I was 13, I made the worst decision of my life. It traumatized me so much. I'm now 19 and I regret it every day. I decided to move away from my family to a completely different city 2 hours away and live in an apartment with 2 girls I barely knew, one of them I had never met, to pursue gymnastics more seriously. The way this worked is Monday through Friday we had gymnastics and we would do like school upstairs online, and then every night a different parent would come stay with us in our 1-bedroom apartment, and then at the end of the week on Friday we would all go back home and then drive back up to the apartment Sunday night. So I would see my mom like once or twice a week, and then some of Friday, all of Saturday, and some of Sunday. Why she let me do this, I have no idea. Also, all 3 of us were about the same age and I was in 8th grade. The only good thing that came out of this is I met one of my best friends who was the girl I didn't know. The gym environment ended up being absolutely traumatizing and we were all being abused. Things went south pretty quick. We were all crying multiple times a day. We would cry before practice, we would cry at night anticipating practice, we'd cry after practice, and our parents were like, you made this decision, like you gotta stick to it, but I don't think they knew how bad it was. We all started to experience panic attacks and we just wanted to be home. I absolutely hated like every second there, and I'm pretty sure they did too. I have so many stories of just whack, horrible things that happened there. But like I said, there was one good thing that came out of it, and that was meeting my best friend, and she was the girl that I didn't know when I first moved in. We became inseparable, like super quick. We did everything together, and when we weren't at practice or worrying about practice, we were like laughing. The whole time we were supposed to be doing school, we would be laughing. Like, I never laughed harder than I did with that girl. We would have movie nights like all the time, and since we were all staying in the same bedroom, we ended up making a fort underneath our beds because they were all touching, and we'd watch movies under there. My best friend ended up bringing her cat, and we also had a hamster. That hamster is a story for a different time, but we had so much fun having like the cat there. We were definitely all trauma bonded because we went through so much together. I still talk to the girl I was best friends with. I actually FaceTimed her the other night, and she's my best friend I've ever had in my entire life. I wish I could have met my bestie in a different way because the damage was so not worth it. This entire thing lasted over a year, so let me know if you want more stories from this time in my life because I have so many.
It's clear that I'm not white, but my dad's white, so he's gotten into a lot of trouble for having a black daughter. This is him. My dad was the custodian at my middle school, and not all the teachers knew that. My dad and I decided that we were gonna go on a late night walk because we wanted to go to the convenience store, and it so happens that the teachers at my school were having some sort of staff dinner in the same plaza. My dad and I go to the convenience store, and we come out, and I guess the teachers are leaving now. We're walking back home, and we see like a car slow down beside us, and then it like turns all the way over because we're still in the parking lot and like they're on the road. So he drives past us slowly and we make eye contact, and then he like zooms off, but the shock on his face was like, we were like, that was weird, but like whatever. I know for a fact this man went home and couldn't sleep at night thinking, oh my gosh, one of my students is out late at night with the custodian. The next day was a school day, and my dad gets called into the office. Right away the principal said like a teacher came to him and they're extremely worried about Destiny. And my dad knew right away what teacher it was and why they were worried. Luckily, the teacher knew my dad, so it wasn't really a big deal. They kind of laughed about it, but this has happened to my dad so much, like in real life, people stopping him and being like, whoa.